So the baby at that moment was sitting playing at a table. And the mom said, she plays there every single day. She eats there, does everything. Just on a whim, the inspector just took out the XRF machine, which is how you detect lead. And we call it shooting because you got to shoot the gun at the table. And it read extremely high in lead. And that's was the culprit. But Mom had just bought that table.
Poison can harm your child before they even start school. So we are joined today by my dear friend Sharita Webb from Chicago Department of Public Health, who is going to share a little bit about who she is and also talk to us about, how can we help prevent lead from harming our youngest children. Welcome, Sharita.
Thank you for having me here, Leslie. I was so excited when you asked me to be on this podcast, and I was like, oh my gosh, should I do this? But I am Sharita Webb. I'm the director of the Lead Poisoning Prevention Program at Chicago Department of Public Health. I have 2 amazing children, as you know,
yes.
And an amazing husband and a little furry dog that's handicapped that I love so much. But overall, I'm very excited to be here today.
Okay, so talk to us. Let's jump in and learn about lead. So, tell me what you want the family to know. Because here in the circle, we're about, addressing myths. We're about really coming together as a community, a village, getting the right information. Yeah. And so I want them to get the right information about lead from you. So let's start by having you tell us some myths that you are hearing or have heard in the field as it relates to lead or lead prevention or lead poisoning.
So one of the biggest myths that we hear is that they think lead is gone. I have heard this so many times.
Wait, when you say gone, what do you mean?
They didn't know it was a problem. People say, we still have a lead problem in the city of Chicago.
Yes.
So that's number one. You hear it. It's like clockwork. I hear it all the time. The other thing is that people think that most of our lead poisoning is coming from the water.
Got it.
And it's not the water.
Where is it coming from?
Most of the lead poison is coming from our homes, paint and dust. Most of our homes in the city of Chicago was built before 1978. Okay. And we have a very old housing stock. As a matter of fact, we have a lot of homes built before 1940. And the reason why 1978 is so pivotal is that that's when they began to ban lead in paint. So most of our homes, if you have a home that that was built before 1978, have lead in them, unless you've done a gut rehab.
Well, so now I know all my families now are kind of going to find their paperwork to say, wait, when was my house built?
Yes.
Because I'm going to do that when I go home just to be on the safe side. But okay, so I want to, that was great. I really want to, take this time to demystify some other myths for families. So I have a game that I love to play. It's called Red Light, Green Light. All right, so I told you a little bit about the game.
Yes.
Here are our paddles. And so just to recap, the game is Red Light, Green Light. It's a myth buster game.
Okay.
And if it's not true, the question, we're going to hold up the red paddle. If it is, we're going to hold it. And, feel free to share with us anything, any important information that we may need to have to make it true if it's not, or any other clarifying information that you want to share with us. Like, this is really to inform our families and an opportunity for us to learn too from you.
Yes. I'm excited.
All right. So one of the things that I hear a lot from families is that, you know what? My child looks healthy. They're not coughing. They're not sneezing. They're not having any issues. So they're healthy. They don't have lead, right?
So I want to say, a lot of people ask us about what are the symptoms of lead. There's not many symptoms of lead unless you have an extremely amount, a very, very, very high amount of lead poisoning in your system. But there are no symptoms to lead poisoning in the beginning.
So can I just ask clarifying questions? And how would you know? Because they could be walking around with lead right now. Like, I could have it.
So that's where your pediatrician comes in, or your primary care physician. They order a lead test, and also knowing that at age 1, 2, and 3, each child should be tested for lead.
So that's on their physical.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teacher in Head Start, I think I was working in the Head Start program. We had to go and make sure on that physical that it was checked off that they did not have it. And sometimes we had kids that did have it and they had to go back and get like a rescreen.
Yes. And so one of the things you talked about the physical, and I remember as a young mother, I live in the city of Chicago. So let me say this right now. The city of Chicago is high risk for lead hazards. So if you don't, and Illinois isn't all high risk, but the city of Chicago is. So I would take my child to the doctor in Evergreen Park. And I remember entering into a Head Start program. Mm-hmm. I provided them the physical because I did the motherly thing. And I was like, everything is great. But they noticed that my son did not have a lead screening, a test. And he had a lead screening, which with a questionnaire. So they had to inform me. The Head Start program told me, no, in the city of Chicago, all children need to be tested for lead. So I had to go back to the doctor and educate the doctor because he was used to Evergreen Park or maybe Oakland, that he would do the questionnaire and he had to do a lead test, a blood lead test on my son. He was fine, but that is something that stands out that I remember.
Well, that's good. And that's good education for our families.
Yes.
So particularly those that are coming to school within the city, we just want to make sure that they get that screener done and not just answer that questionnaire, just for the simple fact of what you said. Chicago has such a high risk and there are no symptoms. So you just want to make sure that your baby is protected.
Yes. And I would say instead of a screening, a blood venous test for the child.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
And I want to say that because if you get a screening and it's a little capillary pick, if that capillary pick is high, then you have to go back to the physician to get a venous test, a blood test on the child. So that's the only way that we determine that's a yes, that there's an elevated blood level and that we will have to go into action if needed.
So coming from a person who don't like shots.
I know.
I would probably do it one time and be done with it. So moms, dads out there, caregivers, guardians, like get the one Sharita's recommending. The venous. Get that one first.
Yes.
When you go physical. Because we just told them too, last episode about the importance of getting that physical. But what you're highlighting is extremely important, that not only get the physical, but make sure they do that lead test, but also make sure it's not questionnaire, make sure it's the venous blood draw.
Versus the capillary, exactly. And another aspect to that is that you'll have to, if it's high in that capillary, you have to take off work or now you got to go back to, so it's a whole nother process. So if we got you, let's get it done right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. All right, I think we got another question. So the next question is, if I'm renting, I can't do anything about lead in my home.
That's not true. If you are renting and your child comes back with an elevated blood level, we will come out. We, being the Chicago Department of Public Health, will come out to their home. But we will also and assess the home to see if there are any lead hazards in the home. If we find them, we talk to that landlord and we have them mitigate or abate those problems. So you as the tenant are not mitigating and abating the home. It's that homeowner. Also, you definitely can let us in and we will talk to the homeowners about this.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So if I go to the doctor, if I'm renting, whether it's apartment, a house, whatever it is, if I show proof, then I contact CDPH, right?
So if you are renting and your child is tested for a high blood lead level, you don't have to contact us. You can, but we will contact you because that's what we do. We receive all the tests in the city of Chicago, whether it's high or low. But what we do is open our tests at action levels at 3.5 micrograms per deciliter. But once that is open, that case, what we do is have our nurse contact the family, as well as our inspector contact the family, set up appointments to do home visits and walkthroughs, as well as tests to see if there are any lead hazards in the home. So once lead hazards are found, we definitely speak to the homeowner.
Okay, great. So as a renter, my role is really just to take my child to get screened, and you guys will be notified anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to, I could contact you as well once I know.
Yeah, that you have an elevated blood level. But also as a renter, if you see things in the home like peeling paint, looking like we call it like the alligator crocodile skin, you see that, you can definitely talk to the landlord about that.
And what does that mean usually? The alligator crocodile?
The alligator. So if I don't have pictures to show, but if you ever, the cracks in the alligator and the crocodile. So if your paint is peeling and it's like cracking and it looks like that crocodile paint, or that is usually an indicator that is lead paint.
Interesting.
An indicator. And I say that because you have to test it to make sure, but it is an indicator.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm learning something.
I'm here for you.
Another question we hear is that lead poisoning only comes through water, old pipes, or paint. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know.
It does not only come from lead piping or lead paint. It also comes from dust, because lead is found in the earth core. So when you're walking around, if you're in construction, if you're doing certain jobs, you could bring it in the house with you and it settles because lead is heavy. So it settles, and then that's lead dust. You can also get it from spices. We've had families that get spices from different countries that they don't have as stringent rules that we have or regulations. There's ceremonial makeup that some of our families have been had lead poisoning from because of, I think it's called coal that they put under their eyes. We've seen it in pots, clay pots. We've seen
flower pots?
Not the flower pots, but like a cooking pot.
Oh, like a clay,
like a clay cooking pot, or different. People may migrate over here and bring their tools and pots and pans and cups and plates and things like that, and we found it in those as well. So it's several. Furniture, we found it in furniture. Good story about that. When our families tested for elevated blood level, house was built, relatively probably in the 1990s or something. So we're like, well, we're going to go in there and check because that's what we do. So we go in there, we checking everything. House is super clean. You can look at it and be like, there's no lead here. So our inspectors were stumped. Like, okay, let's talk about the school and things like that. So the baby at that moment was sitting playing at a table, and the mom said, she plays there every single day. She eats there, does everything. Just on a whim, the inspector just took out the XRF machine, which is how you detect lead. And we call it shooting because you got to shoot the gun at the table. And it read extremely high in lead, and was the culprit. But Mom had just bought that table.
Wow.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Well, what's crazy is like it shows the importance of listening, right? Because had your inspector not taken the time and Mom not felt comfortable sharing just something so simple. Oh, she sits there, she eats there, she plays there every day. That was a trigger to then say, oh, let me check where she's spending a good part of her time, right? Very interesting. And did you tell me, like, I think there was another funny story about someone like moving the dust or something?
Oh, that's my funny story. So, before I came here, like all of us, when we were young, you remember those feather dusters that we used to have?
Oh my gosh.
And then especially
those.
My grandma, I don't know about yours, but she had 1,000 knickknacks, tchotchkes all over the place, and they get dusty, so you got to dust them. So we're dusting them, and we used to have the sun rays coming in, and used to run and, play with them and fan them all over the place.
I remember
Never knew we out here spreading lead.
Oh my goodness.
So, with that, now I understand that when you're dusting and when you're cleaning, you need to have a damp towel. to contain the lead. Don't just dust it all over the place.
And spread it and
inhale
it. And run through it.
We would run through it. So that was one of the stories that I remember when I came here. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, when you know better,
you do better.
When you know better, you do better.
That's right. So
that's funny. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So Sharita, just talking to you, it's clear that lead poison isn't just about paint or pipes, but it's really about prevention. So, and that prevention gives you like a peace of mind because it lets you know, like, I'm good,
right.
Because it's, there's no symptoms. So you would never know, right?
Right.
So talk to us about why prevention is so important.
One of the things I wanted to say is that I want to go back about prevention and talk about education. That's another part.
Ooh, I like that.
Being educated. Education gives you a peace of mind as well. So we may be thinking one thing, but knowing the truth, as well as prevention, helps us have that peace of mind. What people don't know is that being educated about lead poisoning and prevention is key, and that'll give you the peace of mind. So one of the things I want to talk about prevention is, first of all, knowing. Let's start with knowing. It is important to get tested. Mm-hmm. Get your children tested. And I'm going to repeat, age 1, 2, and 3. In most of our school systems, you have to have a lead test before you enter into the program. But also knowing what's the prevention. So what would be the prevention? It would be dust. If I have all this dust in my home, using the wet rag or wet towel to wipe up the dust. If I see any peeling paint or anything like that, maintaining our homes, just maintenance of your home. If there, you know how you come in the door and the door may hit because you don't have a little door stopper, then you get a hole in the wall. And then there's a little child or somebody who's picking at that hole in the wall because lead paint could be behind those other layers of paint that were there. And now they're picking, they're eating, and then they're putting their hands in their mouth. The other thing is that we have been told that lead tastes sweet. That's what the kids like, the sweet taste of lead.
I swear, just sitting here talking to you, I'm just looking through my house right now thinking like, now you're making me want to go check. But this is also why this is so important, because people just don't know, right? And they don't talk about this.
No.
And then it's so late, and then your child's not able to learn or having difficulty in school, and it's something that could have been prevented had we followed some of the steps that you shared with us earlier.
The test, the maintaining the home and getting tested.
And Sharita, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier around lead and how harmful it is to children, particularly young children. Yes. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that it has on their development?
Yes, I talked about in the beginning mental and physical brain damage. It really stunts brain growth, which then goes into cognitive developmental delays. And we know why that's important for our younger kids, right? Because our brain is growing rapidly at the younger age. So it like I said, it causes a lot of developmental delays. There's also been some links to kidney damage. So it's definitely, and behavior. Lead poisoning has linked to behavior issues or concerns within young children as well. So, and one of the things that we do when we come out, our nurses, we have a host of nurses that will come to the home and do a developmental assessment on them, a social emotional, and talk to the parents about things.
So they'll get a sense too, like if the parents are seeing some
absolutely
behaviors at home that may be linked or could be aligned to what they typically see for children who have lead poisoning. Interesting. Yes. So talk about this team that comes out.
Ooh, I'm excited you asked about my team. You know, I love my team.
Yes,
I have a good team. So I'm going to take you through kind of the process a little bit. So like I said, once you get tested for lead poisoning in the city of Chicago, the Department of Public Health, our department, will receive those results. Once we receive a result and then there's a high blood level, you have a team that'll come out. They're going to contact you. It will be my nurse case management, as well as an environmental inspector. So it's like, we know that you may have some concerns. So we have the nurse come out and she'll talk to you about nutrition. developmental behaviors, just kind of do a physical eye look around the home, and also talk to you about if it's medication adherence and or doctor's important appointments, the importance of keeping up with your doctor. And then we'll have our lead inspector come out, and what they are doing is looking at the home and asking questions too about what do you do for a living, but they're going to test the homes to find the lead hazards. I mentioned a little bit about the shooting. It's called an XRF machine, and it's they'll go out and test the home and shoot to see if there are lead hazards in the home. And they're also, and I want to say this about a lead hazard. So this is something that I learned since I've been on this job. Just because we have lead in our home, because your home may have been built before 1978, a lot of times when we're repainting and remodeling, we're just painting over that, right? If we have maintained our home and you're painting over there, there's no cracks, there's no holes in the wall, there's nothing chipping. If that lead is intact, it's fine. Making sure that it's clean. The holes, the cracks, the chips are what now determines lead hazards.
Right, got it.
Because we can go to a home and look and do our XRF and say it's probably lead paint back there.
But it's good.
But it's good. There's not anything.
All right, Sharita. So, this has been so good. It's been a wealth of information, but just sitting here, I'm getting a little bit anxious because I accidentally opened the door too hard, and I got a little bitty hole that I'm trying to figure out, like, do I got lead? So how do you help parents?
How we ease those
might
concerns?
Be anxious. It might be nervous. Be like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So do I have lead?
I'm not here to make people nervous. I'm just here to educate. Okay. I want to take a step back because you did say you have a teenager, right?
I do.
So I don't think the teenager will be ingesting if it is some chip. Okay. So let's talk about that. It's ingesting the lead dust. It's inhaling and ingesting the lead dust. So what happens why do we say 1, 2, and 3? Ages 1, 2, and 3. Children are developing. Mm-hmm. They are crawling. Yes. They are, still putting stuff in the mouth, picking up things off the floor, putting it in the mouth. They're ingesting the lead dust. They're taking the chips. So that's why it's dangerous for children, young children. Okay.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that. We're not going, most of us are not going and eating the lead paint or, eating off the floor, and we're washing our hands.
But that's where it's important for us to make sure our house is intact.
Absolutely.
That's the because if you have folks that come over and visit, bring little kids, keep your house clean.
Keep your house clean.
Keep your house intact.
And
cover up any holes and make sure paint is okay.
Yeah. And get tested. Get the children tested. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. So just to, before we wrap up, take it back to the school. Yeah. So if a child has an elevated lead level, based off of the blood work.
Yes.
What is it that parents can do, and what are some of the resources?
Yes. So one of the things don't panic. We get people panicking, calling our hotline, which is 312-747-5323, just in case you want to know. But
Good shout out.
Right. Just saying. We get parents who are panicking and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. We tell them to relax, take a breath and relax. And there are several people here to help you, several resources. Resource number 1 is that you went and got tested, which means not only did we at the Department of Public Health receive these results, your medical doctor received these results. Mm-hmm. So they will be following up with you and telling you need to come in for your next test, and then they'll have conversations with you on that. We also have our nurse that's definitely going to reach out to you. So maybe we may reach out to you before the doctor did, because we want to call, especially depending on the level. Our nurse is calling you, talking to you. You can ask them questions. What's making you nervous? How can we help you? And we will follow up with them as well to say, go and get retested to see if the lead levels are down. Then you also have us coming in to say, oh my God, my child has this elevated blood lead level. It's probably in my house. I don't know how to test. We coming out and test. That's just part of what we have to do. We come out and test, and then there's a lead hazards in the home. Now what? Well, the good news is that we have grants in our program to help families mitigate and abate those hazards that they may have. Because sometimes finances is an issue, that they have not maintained their home because they have not had the finances to do it. But we have grants that'll help. So don't panic. I like to say this all the time. Sorry, we come in and tell you your child has an elevated blood level and it's from your home, but we are still here to help because we can help. If you qualify for our grant program, we can help mitigate those problems in the home.
One thing that's good to know too, I've had children in my class that when we got the physical back, they had it.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything that happens in school for the most part for the kid. The kid is still able to participate and they're able to be a part of our group. It's nothing contagious or spooky.
No.
It's just making sure that we get the home repaired in a way so that they're not continually ingesting and being exposed to
and
it.
That's the prevention, stopping the ingestion of lead.
Yep.
Maintaining your home, keeping the home clean, going for your follow-up appointments, making sure, checking the child that they're not putting everything in their mouth. Yeah. We talk to a lot of families not realizing that if you're in construction, don't come in the home. If you're a construction worker and you coming in and you walking in with those boots that you wore to work, take those boots off at the door.
Yeah, so
change your clothes so you're not tracking that stuff in the house. People who are bullet makers and smelters and work at the gun range, we have conversations with them because they didn't realize I'm bringing it home. They're coming in. So we're telling them, just like you would tell someone who smokes, like not laying the baby on you, you have to take those clothes off. Take those clothes off before you come in the house.
That's good.
And making sure that the house is clean. So we're here to educate, and we're here to help, and we're here to abate and mitigate those homes if you qualify for our grant programs. And even if you don't qualify and you are a tenant and you have a landlord, they have to get the house in order. They have to make sure that the lead hazards are gone.
And what if you're CHA resident?
And CHA has a whole nother program that they do, but we partner with them. We actually meet monthly with them because we'll say these are the families that are within your property, CHA owned properties that have lead hazards. And we go out to those homes. And if there's a problem, that landlord has to mitigate it and abate that home as well. And CHA is a great partner with us with that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Sharita. So you may not know this, but being connected to the school, I have a take-home pack for my families at the end of every episode. It's usually reminders, updates, and just some homework that they can do. So today I'm going to let you give the homework.
Okay.
Because you gave us a wealth of information.
Okay.
And so I want you to give the homework to our village today, and then I'll come up and give them just a reminder.
So homework. I've said this several times, but homework, get tested. Get tested, ages 1, 2, and 3. And if you have not got tested, you can go 4, 5, and 6. Get tested. That's number 1 for homework. Also, maintaining your home, making sure that the spaces are clean, dust-free. When you're dusting, using a wet, soft, damp towel. I'm sorry, you all. I had a brain freeze. And also, if you guys are worried about water, lead in your water and your lead service pipes, please contact 311, ask for be connected to Department of Water Management, as well as you can go on leadsafechicago.org and check out their package of information.
Okay. And then for your reminder today, just for this episode, I just want to thank Sharita for all of her information. Thank you so much, my friend. But I think for us, our reminder is lead is not always top of mind, but it is so necessary, right? And so if you have family members or friends who you feel like may not be aware of how to prepare their home or prevent their home from having lead, share this episode with them so that they can learn from all of what we've learned here today. And so I just want to, thank you, Sharita. I want to thank you at home for being with us and coming to the circle and hearing all about lead prevention and ways that you can keep your home safe. So you have the power to protect your child's future. And we're here. We're here to support you every step of the way. See you next time in the circle.